How much coffee did you drink, though?
I was gonna say,
It's only been half a coffee.
This.
Wonderful. Okay. Ready? And we're back. Welcome to episode 8 of the Inbound Reporting Podcast.
It's the last one.
It's the last one.
We can finally get out of this room.
We've been trapped.
We've been literally trapped here for 8 hours. Podcasting.
Trapped is like a glass half empty kind of mentality. I prefer that we were scheduled here
We were
for 8
actually.
hours.
Yeah, we were.
Maybe it sounds like that is the case. Okay, so hi, I'm Jory Monroe, and I am an inbound professor with HubSpot Academy, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hi guys, Knuckle Karaba from HubSpot Services. Great to be back here.
And we have a very exciting guest with us
Yeah!
today. Yeah, we did it. We grabbed another product person. So exciting. You guys are like HubSpot superstars. So anytime like we can grab you for content, it's like, yes, nailed it. So without further ado, this is...
I'm Meaghan Griffith, and I'm one of the product managers on our reporting team.
Woohoo!
We did it. So welcome, Meaghan. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So could you tell us a little bit about what you do on the HubSpot product team?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a product manager on our reporting and analytics group. So my team is actually super focused on the custom report builder. So helping HubSpot customers kind of answer really any question that they have about their business using data from across the platform.
Awesome.
And then the second thing we're focused on is attribution. So helping marketers and really eventually salespeople and services who use HubSpot really understand their impact on business outcomes across the board.
She said the dreaded A word.
Attribution.
Attribution.
We will dive in.
We will definitely. We're going to talk about it. I'm particularly excited Meaghan's here because you used to be HubSpot Services. So
yes.
Fun
very,
fact.
very, very exciting.
Meaghan trained me in support.
I
Did you really?
Yeah,
Yep.
I was Jory's mentor.
No
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that's so
on
nice.
my first couple of calls, like Meaghan was the one sitting next to me, like, don't panic. It's okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
We'll get through
just on
this
Slack,
together.
Like, we're going to get through this customer question. We're
This
gonna
is
be
like full
fine.
circle. It's almost as if you've closed your flywheel.
It's almost as if I've created a feedback loop.
That's too much for me.
Yeah, sorry.
Taking
We've been
Meaghan's
stuck here
like-
for 8 hours, Meg. Like,
Amazing. So just to do a little bit of recap of
Yeah.
some of the content that we've covered so far.
Yep.
So this, as Nicole has mentioned, is our last episode. It is episode 8. And we've covered a lot of content so
Yep.
far. So we really started off the episodes strong with talking about and unpacking this concept of the flywheel,
Yep.
this new type of business model, how this really fits into customer journey mapping, which we'll get into actually and really close the loop on that kind of topic
Yep.
in a bit. Then we really dug in with setting business goals, different types of business goals, and then how to use business goals as a way to align different teams. So
Yep.
really focusing on those handoffs and how you can start to have those conversations, whether you're an individual contributor or kind of higher up in the company. Then drilled into managing your data,
Yep.
integration data, HubSpot specific data, some pitfalls to watch out for there. And then we just had a very cool episode about how to prioritize the different reporting tools in HubSpot,
Yep.
and how to think about the types of reports and dashboards that you're creating, almost like creating them with intent.
Yep.
You know, being very intentional about setting yourself up for success with different types of dashboards or reports or kind of where to go when you have certain questions.
And also got some nuances from Remen about visualization. His concepts, how he thinks about
Yep.
reporting. His concept, was called exception reporting versus I reports, right? I want to create something that is exception reporting, which is basically telling someone to notify them if something's gone awry. Again, positive or negative, but both, right?
Totally.
And not necessarily just an I report where you just look at something just for the sake of looking at it.
Right.
Right.
Totally.
And something that came up, we sort of talked about it, not as much as in depth as we will today, but was really that custom report builder,
Yep.
turning to
Yep.
this specific tool because it can help you answer those very particular questions, ones that could potentially not have been answered with the reporting library, or kind of those more exploratory analytics tools in HubSpot. So let's dive into that, because I think, again, like the more that we can unpack and make this like a familiar tool for HubSpot users, the better.
Totally.
So that's what we're gonna dig in today. That's what your specialty is, Meaghan. So welcome again. So let's start off with just like super high level, like when do you go to the custom report builder? Like when do you start to identify like this is a question that the custom report builder is going to answer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Remen probably talked a lot about dashboards and all of the wonderful kind of like out of the box options that HubSpot provides. So I think the report builder comes into play when you've really explored the data in front of you in HubSpot and explored kind of those out of the box, like really intuitive options that we provide. And you still kind of have that burning question where you're like, I need to dig into my data and understand in depth, like what the answer to this is. The report builder is a blank canvas. If you're familiar with workflows, if you're familiar with lists, if you're familiar with anywhere in HubSpot where you might filter down your data and kind of like use those levers to segment your contact database or whatever data it might be, the report builder is going to feel super familiar to you and be a place where you can kind of dig in and like filter down your data to really get to that answer. So really it's about having a specific question, not being able to find the answer to that already in HubSpot. You can go in there and really kind of dig into things and see all of your data in one place.
So something that comes up a lot actually is, it's something, I don't know if this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is like the standard term for it, but there's like this concept of objects in HubSpot, and like that's so key. Data objects, and that's so key to understanding like even like step one of 100%. The report builder. So could you help me unpack like what objects are, and like when you have a question, like where objects fit into answering that question?
Yeah, definitely. So objects are essentially groups of your data. It's an object example would be a contact, a company, a deal. Those are all objects in the HubSpot CRM. So the report builder looks at those objects, and all those objects have properties, which are, you can think of them as just simply attributes of those objects. And the report builder kind of looks to all of those objects and allows you to create a report on one of them or maybe across two different ones. So that you can kind of look to something like your contacts and kind of dig into, the different properties and different attributes of that data to answer a specific question about it. But you can also kind of report across two of those objects. So
which
to
is
answer
really awesome.
like a more in-depth question about how is like, because objects are kind of can stand on their own or they can be associated with each other. And so that's like such a key thing for anyone using HubSpot to understand is, if you think about like a contact, right? Like that's someone that, it's a person. It's someone who visited your website. It's someone who kind of went through your process with you. Eventually, maybe that person raises their hand and they want to buy something from you. You should be attaching that contact to a deal, because once you attach that contact to a deal, there's that depth of data kind of almost cleanliness there and like attachment where that's that attachment and like association is going to come through in things like reports and really anywhere in HubSpot.
And we also talked about,
so important.
Yeah, and we also talked about, you're absolutely right. We talked about this in episodes 5 and 6 about when you're managing a data, when you're collecting data for the first time and it's on maybe one object that it shouldn't be on, what the techniques within HubSpot are to actually shift it over so that if you can't, if something's on like 3 objects, for example, which at this moment in time, HubSpot reporting cannot do. Great. Can we transfer it to make it 2 objects, which you can do with a cross-object report?
Yeah, I sort of see like associations as like the connective tissue for your like reporting strategy, right? Where it's gonna really pull those things together and make it like kind of one cohesive unit, even if it lives in 2 different places. And one metaphor that I really like, and if it's a bad one, let me know. But I've kind of sort of attached to objects is sort of like Excel spreadsheets. I know, so super.
You okay?
Yeah, so I'm like, Excel. It's just like sheets of data, right? Like you put sheets of data in different places to keep it clean and easily accessible and readable. But like if you want to report on one of them, you got to kind of highlight the segment of data for your report to make it cohesive and visualize it. So I think of it objects in terms of like data sheets in Excel, and I feel like that has helped me cement what objects are in an abstract way.
Right.
Yep, it's a group of data, and it's a way to take that data, see it, associate it with other things.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about last time, because this is visualizing your data, right, in the part of the framework. But really, you know, as we hopefully will have it right on the video segment right now of the whole framework, we have that little arrow that actually goes all the way from visualizing your data back to mapping your flywheel. So, Meg, you know, how does all this reporting, just this data visualization, right, relayed back into the flywheel of an organization, right? What are things that you want us to think about when constructing those reports to then say, I want to use this to basically change my business model or better understand my business model, my flywheel?
Yeah, I think where reporting, and you all probably talked about this bunch in previous episodes, but I think where reporting really fits into the flywheel is like you need to be able to use your reports to identify where that friction is occurring.
Yeah, totally.
So step one, you really need to have that established business process. If you don't have that, you need to kind of back up and start there and understand exactly what it takes for your business to get someone to visit the website, convert them into a lead, convert that person into a kind of qualified lead. Qualified lead.
Totally.
Close them as a customer and then delight them when they're one of your customers. That's the whole kind of process. It's a flywheel. If you don't have that defined, that's where you need to start. Once you have that defined, inevitably you're going to start asking questions about that process. Like where in my process is breaking down, and we can call that friction in this case. So the report builder and kind of those more customizable reporting tools really you should be using that as a tool to zero in on that friction. So there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Again, it starts with the question, and it starts with understanding the HubSpot data model, how those objects work together, how the associations work together. So when you go into the report builder, you feel at home. It's not overwhelming or feels like too much information. And we're always working to make that to be a better experience, of course, but at the end of the day, it's all of your data in HubSpot, so there's going to be a lot going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So being able to identify, okay, here's my process, here's a place in my process that isn't going well, or where we're not hitting goal, we're not hitting number. Zeroing in on that and starting to pick apart the data a little bit more.
Right.
That's awesome.
Usually that's the best case scenario, right? Where you do have customers actually using that, and you know, I got a good bunch that do that. They've already kind of automated it. Remen talked about, you know, dashboard structure last episode, and you know, you could clearly see that. For others, you know, that may not be necessarily the case. You know, there may be some other external factors. Where do you usually see people getting stuck when they are trying to visualize their data? Is it the case of I'm not able to identify those properties to actually pull in for the reports? Is it the case of I'm having a problem with actually just pulling in the right properties and visualizing it the right way? Is it something else I haven't mentioned?
Yeah, I think visualization is obviously the last step. I think it's so much more about the problem that we see people coming up against is so much more about not having the right data than not being able to visualize it in the way that you want. And of course, we could talk about visualization for days, but in HubSpot, we make it pretty simple where you have a bunch of options, and it really just depends on your team preferences, who the viewer of the report is, who's consuming it, to dig into, you know, literally, should this be a table or a bar chart?
What's the most intuitive? Yeah.
What I think is way more interesting and way more problematic for a lot of customers is I'm getting to this end stage with my report, or like in the report builder, it's like that last step, and I'm not seeing the breakdown of information that I need. And so I think the best thing you can do is start with that like unsummarized raw data view of the report.
So more of the tables.
The data set,
100%.
almost. Yeah.
I think you have to start there in many cases and just be like, okay, like, do I have what I need to answer the question? So say, you know, you're having a really specific question that you need to answer about your sales team. Are the reps on my team meeting goal? Are they performing? And are they doing kind of the recommended activity count? Like, are they making the calls, meetings, and emails that they need to? So if we start from the top, that's going to be the deals object. So you need to understand what reps are closing deals. And that's also going to potentially be activity. So what engagements, what activity are they kind of doing with our customer base or our prospect base. When you kind of go through that full process to get to the end report, you need to be able to kind of back up and say, you know, what properties and what things are the end viewer of this report going to need to look at it and be able to understand, am I doing the thing that I need to be doing, glean that information, and like immediately get back
Action
to
it.
their day.
Yeah,
So for a sales rep,
absolutely.
it's going to be like that quick, like, can I gain what I need from this? They're not going to want like a raw data like table.
Right. 'Cause what is that telling them?
No,
Yeah, right.
no,
Totally.
absolutely not.
We talked about two different types of reports that you know, within the custom builder, the single object and the cross object, right, with two objects. We know that there's a funnel report, but you mentioned the A word at the beginning of this episode, so I'm going to come back to it right now. Attribution. So
Dun,
yeah.
dun, dun.
So generally, you know, those that, you know, have watched the episode and have actually thought about this, generally, you know, people actually have a business goal that probably would warrant attribution as one of the key metrics to measure.
Yeah.
And so attribution reporting has become increasingly important, at least in the 2 years I've been at HubSpot.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to ask?
And I mean, there's also been like very interesting announcements at Inbound this year about like where the attribution tool is going, where it's like versus like kind of the state that users are used to seeing it in the custom report builder. So I don't know if this is exactly where you were taking that, but can you help us unpack like some of those announcements? Where's attribution now versus where it's headed, and what our users can really do to start using this and really gaining actionable insight from
Definitely. We
That
are
was what I was
so
gonna ask.
excited
Yeah.
about what's coming with that. So to start, I think it's really useful. Many folks listening may have used attribution reporting in HubSpot before. It's useful to talk about what attribution in HubSpot did previously versus what we're doing now.
Totally.
So today or previously, what attribution in HubSpot looked like was what's referred to as lead attribution. So we're really helping in HubSpot folks see, okay, what were the touch points, the interactions that occurred with my brand up until the point where someone converted as a lead in my flywheel.
Cool.
Great. That's
Simple.
really helpful. Simple. It's very simple. And it's really helpful just to understand, you know, who's coming into the marketing process.
Yeah. And how'd they get there?
Yeah. So it got us part of the way there for our customers. But what's really, really important for people to understand and what's really difficult for people to understand in HubSpot previously is how does someone go from the first time they visit my website all the way until they meet whatever the business outcome is that we care about. So let's talk about closed deals as an example, revenue.
Okay.
We really want to make sure that people can see that full end-to-end customer journey so that they can understand what is the impact that these different touch points, these different interactions with my business process have on that outcome, on revenue.
Yep.
And so kind of going back to like who we built this for. So the new thing we're building is multi-touch attribution reporting. Multi-touch attribution reporting is very exciting because it looks again at that end-to-end process.
Okay.
So backing up to who we built it for, we really first and foremost built this and are building and iterating on this for the marketer. The marketer using HubSpot today is drowning in engagement metrics.
Right.
We have fantastic engagement reports across the platform. You send an
So many
email,
metrics.
Yeah.
and you get
No,
like
you're right.
those great performance metrics and understand like who opened it and who clicked on it or who worked with my social post or looked at my LinkedIn thing. Like we show you all of this valuable engagement data, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't tie back to the rest of your process, the rest of your funnel.
ROI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So multi-touch attribution reporting is all about showing the marketer and then eventually anyone using HubSpot ROI on their efforts.
Yep.
So what it does is it, again, looks at the full kind of process that someone goes through when they come to your website and then interact with your brand. So we're really excited about kind of the ability for the marketer or anyone to dig into the data and see, okay, someone kind of came to the website, this is all the things they did between when they came to the website to when they converted as a lead. And then this is all the things that they did kind of going beyond that lead attribution. This is all the things they did after they converted to a lead until the deal was created.
Okay.
And then after the deal was created, this is all the things that they did until they closed as a customer. And what attribution is going to do is let you apply attribution models, which look at all of those touch points and kind of give different amounts of credit to those touch points so that as a marketer or anyone, you can really analyze the impact of your efforts.
I'm dying. That's of excitement.
In a good way.
Yeah, I'm just dying. This is amazing.
It's going to be great.
Because
We're really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, my previous experience, pre-HubSpot and then in HubSpot, I mean, there were other ways that you could start to show vestiges of this.
Yeah.
Right? So
if you squint, you could sort of see it.
Yeah, like you could pull something like marketing contribution to revenue. So based on when someone became a marketing qualified lead, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before too. You could show that contribution to revenue over time, right? But not specific actions, but based on a date property of became a marketing qualified lead. There were 2 other properties that I thought of as well. First touch converting campaign, last touch converting campaign. If you organized your marketing activities and campaigns, you could actually tie those individually to say, oh, it looks like the first touch converting campaign was this. Looks like the most recent converting campaign was this before they closed. What was the impact on revenue? This is really saying, I'm going to take all of those things and then 5 other things that we haven't mentioned, put it all into one model. And that is extremely powerful because as you alluded to, Meaghan, marketers are way smarter now. I mean, they are drowning in engagement data. They want to be drowning in that engagement data. And they want to be able to pull something, consolidate it to say, great, I want to visualize my data and I want to be able to give credit where credit is due to my email marketing team, to my content marketing, to my paid ads, to my whoever.
And I remember sort of an echo of this. I think it was 2 years ago that the campaign analytics tool had launched. And I remember how much buzz that got because it was finally a way to start pulling that story together. Finally a way to start saying this campaign helps sales close this amount of deals.
Correct.
But this is very much taking it that step further. And
a huge step further.
And not just in campaigns, but just in general assets.
Everything.
Right?
Everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Where it's was it that email? Was it that meeting? With a rep? Was it that sales email? What is it? So I think it's going to give you so much more transparency as to what's happening in the flywheel and help you visualize it and really bring it home that much more.
Yeah, it shows the end-to-end journey and it lets you understand the impact of the things that happen on this journey on the outcome. So it's super powerful.
Totally.
We're really excited about it.
That's awesome. So do you have, so I know something that I always get questions about in academy content is examples, right? So do you have examples of some use cases where a marketer would want this type of report on their dashboard or answering those questions?
Yeah, 100%. I think the way that marketers oftentimes first realize that they need an attribution report is when the director of marketing or the CMO or maybe even the CEO comes to them and they're like, hey, we gave the marketing team X amount
dollars
this quarter.
Currency.
X amount this quarter.
Yeah.
What happened? What did you do with it? Where did it go?
Yeah.
And historically in any platform out there, it's been extremely difficult or extremely expensive to really show your boss what you did and where it went and what impact it had, ROI. Yeah. And so I think the number one most impactful thing that will come out of the multi-touch attribution reporting in HubSpot is your ability as a marketer to make that dashboard that anyone from the business, but especially folks who are operating at a little bit of a higher level, to log in and understand, okay, the marketing team did this and they did this. They put X amount into landing pages or email or whatever it may be. And we can see the impact that that's having on the bottom line clearly. Yeah. And that's 100% going to be possible. So we're super excited about it.
And you pull that into something like defining your goals, as we've talked about episodes 3 and 4. It's just all of a sudden, that director of marketing is maybe concentrating on that one specific metric, as they should be, right? But all of a sudden they can think, well, if we have a revenue business goal, well, great. because I know we're already accomplishing this. We're meeting this metric. We're accomplishing that. Maybe I can give the same amount of budget or a little more to my marketing team next year.
Totally.
Right? For them to do the same thing again, surpass it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just going to say also, so we're excited about that, but we're also excited about the way that it will really help the individual marketer understand their impact. So like we want to give marketers credit. That's one of the huge goals of bringing multi-touch attribution to HubSpot.
Which is so important because one of the things that we had talked about with goal setting is, you know, like sometimes like the flywheel feels like so abstract, like, oh, whatever, that's something like the C-suite has to care about, you know. But when you're setting goals, that can get a little murky, right? Because it's like cool if you have like key metrics that are high level with your flywheel, but how does that apply to then the VPs of your department if you have like a large company? How does that apply to like team leads or managers? How does that then trickle down to the individual contributor? So it's like this is a way where like you can see how the goals or the actions of your ICs essentially, or your individual contributors, then tie up into the metrics of your team, then tie up. So it's like, this is really like HubSpot reporting, helping you bring your goals and your flywheel to every part of your business, because now you can track that, and now you can track that by like dollar value, which is huge. And I think that's so interesting that you like bring up, where it's just like, this is also like an age-old problem of marketing, right? Where it's just like, I feel like I've been hearing about this problem. It's like, I don't even know what marketing's worth, like for the longest time. So now you can do that, and all within HubSpot, which is huge.
All in one place. The other really incredible thing about this is it's also going to show the marketer kind of where the sales team handoff happened specifically, and then what the sales team did as well to drive that deal. And so, you know, that's super helpful to not only the marketer to understand that handoff and how to optimize that relationship between marketing and sales that we talk about so much.
That's
but
excellent.
Also, it's great for the sales team, the sales managers too, because in attribution, again, it's the end-to-end journey. And right now, it's really a focus on revenue attribution. So a sales team can go in and see, hey, we closed this super high-value deal last month. What happened? Like, why did we do that? Let's do it again.
How do we replicate?
Exactly. And so you can drill into it really even on the deal record. We're bringing that data directly to the deal and contact records so that you can understand, you know, what happened and what went down here, and see every single touch point that occurred from first visit all the way to when the deal closed. It also kind of goes the other way, where sales reps will be able to see, hey, this is what marketing did, without maybe scrolling the contact timeline.
Definitely.
They'll be able to get like a high level view of, you know, this person that I'm working a deal with already looked at the white paper. They already looked at this landing page, and they already kind of engaged with these high value, high intent things that the marketing team put out there.
I know Remen, last time we talked about with Remen about alignment and looking at those viewpoints at the end of last episode to say, you know, we want to make sure that those handoffs are pretty necessary, and identifying in between those the business goal. This is really making that conversation so much more meaningful now, if you have it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whenever, how often. You know, so sales can say, you know, marketing, that white paper is really great. Keep doing it, you know.
Totally.
Don't send as many emails, right, on it. You don't necessarily need to. Marketing can say, hey, you know what, sales? You guys are doing it. Like, you're doing it right. Maybe you don't even need to send as many outreaches. Maybe you don't have to use as many emails in your sequence. Maybe you use 4 instead of 5 emails, you know. Again, I'm taking the glass half full kind of approach. But like, you know, it all of a sudden you're getting a lot more points from which to agree on, or at least debate on, to say, you know, this is what we need to change. But all of a sudden, there's a number behind it. There is an active visualization for them to take some action, apart from all the resources that are already available. Within HubSpot Reporting.
And what I love about this like kind of new addition is, yes, it shows like sales, how marketing has like impacted it, but like what also a great way to personalize your sales process. If you know that person has like dealt with like this specific content, you can like so level set with them before you've even had that initial conversation. And then that transparency of like bringing this kind of customer journey mapping to the contact record, Like, what an amazing way to always keep your customer's experience top of mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's like, it's visualized right there for you. Like, you know what they've touched. Like, you know what they've consumed in terms of content. So I like this as also like, not to be that person, but like super empathetic to the customer.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is a way that you
Yeah.
really turn data, which can feel so cold and emotionless, into like actually like delightful experiences because of what the actions it can inspire you to do or your sales team to do.
Yeah.
Would the single line attribution still remain? I should ask as a clarifying question, or will it just be multi-touch?
So we want to move to a world where all attribution in HubSpot is powered by this one kind of attribution platform.
Okay.
So eventually we'll layer in those other types of attribution in there, like lead attribution, deal create attribution, things like that.
That's great. That's great because I do see value in those kind of single lines or single points of attribution. I just think with the level of complexity that marketers, salespeople, service people, all think now. Multi-touch is really paramount, to understanding that, accomplishing your business goals, but also understanding your business model, which again, if you're visualizing your data, right, the only natural thing is, great, now take action on the data that you've visualized, change your business processes, and do it all over again. Let's start all over.
Yeah.
And I think what's so important here too is just like attribution also gives you the ability to kind of zoom in and zoom out, right?
Yes.
Where it's like
100%.
for the like kind of potentially like more high level people, right? Like maybe directors or kind of like CEO, C-suite, exactly. You can really focus on like experience building and like how that's functioning. But like what I love about this particular feature is that it's really, no matter what your role is, this is going to give you some kind of insight, because you can drill down into like, cool, like these sets of like emails or assets, like they didn't function as well as we expected them to, right? So it's like, that is something I can action as an IC and potentially like optimize the process. But like, again, like if I'm running a team, right, I can see how they're coming together to create that experience. So it's really like, you can go as high level as the flywheel, or you can go as specific as the action. And being able to do that all in one platform, that's huge.
The vision for it is really to allow anyone to drill into or zoom out of this data wherever they work. So dashboards, the individual pages that you see performance of things like landing pages, emails, social, campaigns. We want to make sure that you can group this data by your campaigns that you're running.
Yeah, totally.
We really want to let you kind of go as deep as you need to, or zoom out as much as you need to.
Yeah, so I know that like the report builder is like the kind of heavy hitter here, because that's where attribution has typically lived. And we talked a little bit about the contact record. Where else can you see kind of traces of this attribution, like this new ability living in HubSpot?
Yeah, I can definitely see it, and we plan to bring it to the campaigns app. So
that makes sense.
When you're running a marketing campaign, it's really a place where you're bringing your different marketing assets together in one place.
Yeah.
And so we want to definitely take that to the next level. One of the ways that we want to take that to the next level is letting you look at kind of attributable data about that campaign and seeing a breakdown of any asset that you attach to a campaign. You can understand what revenue or eventually other business outcome is like attributed to that. So if you think about campaigns, you have like your ads or your social or your different things that are attached to it.
Yeah.
You can kind of imagine seeing that revenue breakdown for each of those things, rolling it up to kind of the ROI of an actual full marketing campaign.
And ROI can be measured, at least right now, or previously, influence contacts, influence revenue. As well as new contacts and sessions. But, when we're thinking ROI, we're thinking how many new contacts was I able to get? How many contacts was I able to influence? How many deals was I able to close as a result of this? How much revenue was I able to influence as a result of this?
Yeah, but now you can get so much more granular by
and
like
now
asset
you can
type.
Get way more detailed.
Which is going to be super helpful too, as you're just like, because you know, like we clump marketing together a lot, but it's just like there's so many things that go into it, and like we clump sales together, but there's so many different activities. So being able to optimize, like, hey, like for marketing, like maybe your email campaigns, like you should look at that nurturing process a little bit more, or maybe for sales, like booking 3 meetings isn't really effective. You should just do the one and like follow up with a sequence. I think that what's exciting too about this is it allows you to get granular enough that you can then be experimental with your processes and really figure out, like, not just like what this high level theoretical buyer persona wants, but like what the people that actually work with your company like want to hear from you, like what type of content they want to consume, because now you're going to have the data to be like, hey, like this is not working. Like, based on the dollar amount, this does not work. So I think it's interesting as we talk about like how data driven this can be, like the actual like realms of possibility it can open up for your team. Like this can be like a huge source of creative potential, because it's like something that has been standard. It's like working okay, but it could be better.
Yeah, it's all about what's working and what's not.
Exactly.
And that really goes to the essence, I would say, of the framework itself. Like you want your business processes to be something that's much more data driven, because one, our customers are asking for it, and two, we are now finally getting the more and more resources are piling on for it. In the context of this episode, it's multi-touch attribution reporting. We talked to Al 2 episodes ago. It was about integrations and consolidating that to make us truly a platform company. All more to say, hey guys, you have all these data points. You have, you understand a little bit about your business goal, business model. You do have some quantifiable business goals. Great, you're able to now consolidate all those data points from natively within HubSpot, as well as your other tech systems, technology platforms, whatever you use. And then now you're able to really visualize it in a number of ways. Multi-touch attribution being a real crucial point of that. But then also you still have the customer report builder. You still have analytics tools. You still have the report library that you can use, customize, use filters, and try to find something in your dashboards to spur action, to start that process, to keep iterating.
Another really important visualization that will come out of this data on the topic of visualizing data is better kind of funnel reporting and a better understanding of not only who are the customers who met the end outcome or the end goal, and analyzing who kind of successfully became a customer, but also allowing you to see everyone. And of all of my customers, or of this segment of customers or people in my database, how have they kind of gone through a specific process, who dropped off and who stayed on. So commonly known as either kind of funnels and analyzing like a funnel report, or another way to like visualize that data. But another way to visualize that data is like a customer journey map. And so that's something we're really thinking about on the product team, and trying to figure out how we might be able to bring something like that into HubSpot. We think that's really important.
That's excellent.
What a beast to visualize.
I can't imagine.
How do we make it simple, but also...
If there is a focus group, I would like to be included. I'd like to go on the record right now as we're being recorded.
Now we're on the spot.
Meaghan's like, can we please change the topic?
No. For sure.
That's awesome. So as you look sort of into the future, and we can also, if you can't tell us anything, that's also an acceptable thing. But so we've talked a lot about like marketing and sales. What are some of the implications you see eventually for this bringing in like services, right? Because, it seems like this is going to be huge for like attracting and engaging. And I mean, that handoff is like a problem age as old as, like, or problem as old as time. I totally said. I think that's from like Beauty and the Beast. Like, tale as old as time, problem as old as time. Anyway, okay.
We got a Disney reference in the last episode.
Bam.
Oh, wow.
What are some of the implications you see eventually of this bringing like kind of your reporting full circle with your customers?
Yeah, 100%. We want to make sure the full flywheel is represented. So today I said end-to-end customer journey. It really technically isn't, because we're looking at what was your first touch or first interaction with the brand all the way to the closed deal. We want to make it the true end-to-end customer journey, which means bringing it all the way through to maybe when someone referred someone to kind of get involved and buy.
Totally.
So bringing the full kind of flywheel into the attribution tools.
And again,
exciting things to come.
Yeah, and again, there's already vestiges of it, just like with multi-touch attribution. right? There's vestiges of this as well to measure word of mouth marketing, tracking URLs, campaigns, utilizing referrals and referral links within the traffic analytics report. But this sounds, again, that next step.
Yeah, totally.
I would say
we're looking to level up.
Yeah, truly. I mean, because previously I kind of saw like all these different things pre this and multi-touch attribution as we were kind of just taking steps. We're going at a good pace. All of a sudden, Meaghan just like had a Red Bull and just sprinted like a marathon, pretty much, and she just got she's getting pretty close to the finish line at the same pace, which is great.
Yeah, but especially for like, I think where we are, just like, it's so exciting because I think another framework to kind of put this in reference to is just like the buyer's journey. Like I think it is definitely like end to end in terms of like the buyer's journey. So like as we're considering like how services can get involved, definitely some growth opportunity there. But like for the marketer, man, this is exciting. Like, because that is the entire buyer's journey. Unlock what content is making the most.
Every touch point that happened with the brand.
That's awesome. So in terms of like kind of using this data and like using the types of reports that you'll build there, do you see this as something that will be like, will it appear on like marketing dashboards in terms of like canned reports? Like what kind of canned reports are we talking about, and then like versus like building from scratch, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. We're right now really focused on nailing the from scratch experience because we want to make sure that all of the data that people would possibly need is available to them, and obviously that'll be an incremental process. We'll iterate over time, but we're really focused on that right now. Eventually we do want to turn to those out of the box reports, really work with our customers to have them help us create what's the ideal kind of ROI attribution dashboard that someone can just kind of get in HubSpot.
Start creating.
So based on your research, like as this tool has been developing, like what are some of the common questions though that you see like people turning to the attribution report builder for? I think anything related to, I need to understand where should I kind of put more or less effort. And so specifically that gets into things like, okay, I have all of these different assets that the team created. Where specifically should I kind of be doubling down, and like what specific landing pages, what specific blog posts are people really interacting with who went on to continue that journey and engage with the sales rep or raise their hand. So we really are seeing people, and that's kind of why we're focused on the depth of the data right now. We want to make sure that customers can go in and analyze it, like dig into it and understand, because it's the thing about attribution is it uses attribution models, and what those are simply kind of different weights and mechanisms for applying different weights to those touch points that happen. So more weight is going to go to touch points that occur before those key conversion points in your journey. So the platform today supports the first interaction, the lead create, the deal create, and the deal close. That's important to understand because the landing page that someone viewed right before the deal was created, or the call that happened with the rep right before the deal was created, that's going to get more credit from almost any model. But the nice thing about models is you can decide like, okay, I'm a marketer who really cares about attract. I want to bring people into our marketing process, bring people into the flywheel. There's models that can help you look at, okay, here's everything that happened in my end-to-end journey, but I want to put more credit, more weight towards those first kind of 2 conversion points of this is the first time they looked at my website, and then this is when they actually converted as a lead, which would be the U model. So it's nice because you can kind of, look at that data and dig into it and analyze it with those models to better understand kind of different questions you might have or different parts of the process. That's awesome. So definitely more flexibility, and sounds like variation in the types of models and how you can apply weight to them too. So there's an additional layer of like being granular.
Can't wait to play with it.
But we also recognize.
Did you do that on purpose?
I did.
Okay.
I totally did.
Dun, dun.
Hashtag corny jokes.
Hashtag pun.
Yeah, right.
We recognize that attribution is a little complicated to grok at
of
first,
course.
so we're putting a ton of investment into what are the questions that people have about their business and letting people say, okay, this is what I want to really dig into, letting them kind of click on that question or like interact with a real question and get into the data from there. So we're making some exciting progress on that front.
And I think that also helps with the like, just in terms of the custom report builder, like make sure you know what you're asking first, because like you could spend so much time being like, I don't know, this filter and this property or this attribution model, but like you could waste time. And like if you're building that like repetition and like understanding how that works, that's a different thing. But if again, like you are looking for the answer of a specific question, like make sure you understand what that is. So I think starting with the question, both like as the clickable element that you were talking about, but also just like in terms of how to go about building a report is really important here. Because when you have all the different levers and you're just pulling at will, like what kind of insight are you trying to get?
Yeah, no, exactly. A lot of things that I think the big takeaways is, one, multi-attribution is coming.
Take a look.
Or is already here, which is great.
It's here.
It's here. It's finally here. But more importantly, I think this really solidifies that step from going from visualizing your data all the way back around to mapping your flywheel again. Because you already have that actionable feedback loop of saying, even past, I'm going to give this percentage credit to this team and this percentage credit to this team. You can immediately say, great, here's what I may need to change in my business process to do this better, based on what the data has showed me and based on what I was able to visualize. Again, you go back to mapping your flywheel, starting to rejig your business goal and metrics, and so on and so forth.
Totally, and attribution reports definitely seem like the type of reports that most closely tie to that like repeat process, where it's like, because it's like they're gonna give you like live insight on like what's working and what's not. That's your flywheel. So this is almost like, we won't call it this, I think, ever, but like it's like flywheel reporting is what attribution reports are.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Like it's how you're going to...
Because it's cyclical.
Yeah, and it's like, it's based on like key parts of your business, and like, again, that zoom in, zoom out, that's entirely what we've been talking about like this entire series. And finding out what works and what not. What doesn't, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, those like last episodes, so we had talked about, you know, Raymond had chatted about, you know, making sure that we follow this concept of having a point to those reports and data visualizations that you create, right? So we had actually provided, thank you. So we actually provided the custom report builder workbook as that asset. So today there's no specific asset, but instead we do have a bit.ly with all of the assets from previous episodes that we are going to provide in the show notes for anyone to download and use. And obviously you can still send to us for feedback, you know, going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is also, just like as a CTA is, as this new tool kind of gets launched, as we bring it into the ecosystem, also keep an eye out for HubSpot Academy material, because we will be with you every step of the way in terms of like how to best use this. Because as you mentioned, like attribution reports, like they might not be intuitive to everyone. So keep an eye out for that content, because we are going to be very dedicated to helping you unpack it.
Yep, Marketing Hub Enterprise coming soon.
Coming soon.
As this is the last episode, tier.
Our mini series is complete.
But at least we get to leave the room now.
Netflix is shook.
We will have a survey as well as kind of a combined link of all assets. One of the things that we will ask, apart from, you know, your feedback on the series itself, is if you'd be interested in one-off consulting hours from Jory and or myself, we'd love to actually hear that.
Both.
Both. We'd love to hear from you.
If you want to be in this seat.
Because you know, we're hoping that you know, we can use this as, you know, a foray to provide additional support and also fill in the gaps where we're not necessarily seeing it. Hopefully the framework, the inbound reporting framework, was able to give you a good foundation from which to build, you know, start good constructing your reports. We're hoping that the consulting hours one-off will be great. We're just going to review it. We're actually going to give you pinpointers about maybe where you're missing the mark, or or answer any other questions that you have.
So let us know.
Yeah, don't miss out on that.
You can reach us at the inboundreporting@hubspot.com email address. Bookmark that, keep that top of mind, add us to your contacts. Yeah. Anyway.
I could just see in somebody's like HubSpot, it'll be like inbound reporting at HubSpot.com.
Parentheses.
Name is Nakul and Jory, or Jory and Nakul. Like, just no last name. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's it. Did you have any additional insight?
I didn't. Meaghan, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you
It was
so
wonderful
much.
having you. It was
This was
wonderful
fun,
having
yeah.
you. It was great talking about the dreaded A word, which isn't actually as dreaded as
The F word.
well, yes, but like
Flywheel.
the
by the
flywheel.
way. That's
flywheel.
what I meant.
It wasn't as dreaded as I thought it was going to be at the beginning of the episode.
You were dreading it?
No, I wasn't
Man.
dreading it in sense of like.
My coffee brain was like, yes, attribution, let's go. Okay. Anyway.
How much coffee did you drink though?
How's
You
it
drank,
say?
It's only been half a coffee.
this much
is
though every
this
time.
Is me on half a coffee.
If I had that much, I think my heart would explode.
Half a coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks for
Anyway,
joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.